No, I was born, I forget the name they call it, but up in Spring City.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, my brother Boyd was married, born right there where that little bridge got the high hump in it. What is
On
it?
Jackson Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was born on up in the upper end of Spring City.
Yeah. So how many brothers and sisters total did you have?
I got 5 brothers and 6 sisters.
Goodness. So is some of your sisters still around here now?
I've got one sister that's still in Ray County. The rest, 2, Christine and Maxine, and the others are just scattered out over Michigan, I reckon.
So when you so you went to school here in Spring City, or did you go?
I went to school in Spring City and Grandview.
Grandview. Back then, there wasn't a whole lot of people stayed in school all the way through. How far did you go to school?
No, I just went through the 8th grade, and years later, I went on and got my GED.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do after you got out of school? Did you go straight into drilling wells at that point, or did you?
Went in the service. Went in the service and got in the water well drilling business over in Hawaii.
What branch service?
Army.
You was in the Army?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
I stayed 17 years over in the Hawaiian Islands. I was in the drilling business over there.
So you went to. So when you was you were in the Army, were you stationed in Hawaii?
I stayed. When I was in service, got out, I stayed in Hawaii.
So you were stationed in Hawaii and you just stayed over?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you stayed 17 years in Hawaii?
Yeah.
I bet that was a shock being from Spring City going to Hawaii, wasn't it?
It was different. I loved it while I was there, but when I was ready to go, I was ready to go.
Yeah. Now, did you get married when you were in Hawaii?
Yeah. I married a girl from over there.
Did y'all have children? Do you and her have
We've
children?
got one boy, but she's dead, and I talk to him once in a great while.
Where does he live?
He lives in Honolulu.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet people would be shocked to know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, many people know it.
Huh. But you do talk to him every once in a while?
Once in a while.
Well, how long were y'all married? Or how old was he when did y'all divorce, or did you?
Yeah, we divorced. And truthfully, I don't even remember the year.
Yeah. But he was with you for a while then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
So his mother's Hawaiian then?
Japanese.
Japanese. Huh. So when how long were you in the oil well business before you decided to run for sheriff? Or were you in law enforcement before you ran for sheriff, or did you?
Yeah, I was in the water well business and the oil drilling business as I was sheriff.
So did you drill oil out in Hawaii? Oil drilling out there too?
No, that's strictly water and exploration drilling over there for soil.
Right.
If they were going to build a big structure or something like that, you had to check the foundation to see if it's strong enough to support.
Where did you drill oil wells at? Out west, or?
No, in Kentucky mainly, and Tennessee here.
Huh.
And I went to, when they had a drought out in San Francisco, that was in '77, I went out there, stayed for a year and a half while they was having the drought.
Mm-hmm.
I took 2 rigs out there, and then after the rain started pouring down, I moved back here and went back to oil drilling.
Did you ever drill anywhere around here, around Spring City, for oil?
Drilled one up here at Mars Hill on Franklin Thompson's place. Didn't have no luck. I carried it down a couple of 1,000 feet. Didn't have no luck on it. Oh, I drilled one just down the hill here on the old Maddox farm, and I hit high gas. I mean, gas that had pressure galore, but water broke in at the same time.
Yeah.
And slowed the flow of gas, so it wasn't worth fooling with.
Yeah. What year did you run for sheriff? Was it 80? Or do you remember?
In the 70s.
But it carried on into the 80s.
Yeah,
or
it did.
Did you get 2 terms?
Yeah, at separate times.
Right, okay.
Yeah, two separate times.
First time was in the 70s.
And the other one was in 80.
Who did you beat the first time for it?
Ole was had ran his limit on terms, so it was an open position.
How did that first one work out for you? Was it?
It wasn't bad. No, I mean.
But you never had been in the law enforcement or anything before, had you?
No. You had to do some things that you wish you didn't have to do because you know the people, and you kind of know both sides. So you're kind of put in a position where you got to do some things you wish you didn't have to do, you know.
Yeah. Were there any big things happen when you were sheriff? Were there a lot of trouble at that time, or was it?
No.
You remember any big things that happened while you were?
I didn't have too many major things. The first time was just mainly drunks and fighting and stuff like that. But second time, I had a lady to go in Dr. Forston's office down there and was shooting up his place. So it was long about lunchtime, and I was coming down the road and heard about it, so I went up on the hill. She had moved from his office to his home up on Blueberry Hill. And when I went up there, she was riding around in her car, driving, shooting out with her left hand out the window. And so they had other police officers there and everything, and I was standing out in the open, and she was firing. I said, "Hey, shoot!" So one of the guys said, "I'm going to." He got down below the hood of the car, you know, with his pistol up like that. I thought, man, you're shooting in the dark. So I grabbed his pistol and I walked out toward the car, firing at her, and she just kept a-coming. And I kept a-shooting. Well, when I got up to the car, when she finally stopped, she was laying over in the seat on her side, and one hand underneath her backside, and she's grinning like a possum. I said, "You know, there ain't no way I'll miss you now, so give me that gun." And one of the other police went through the open window and got the gun that she had in her hand. And she just kept laying there grinning. And she said, "You didn't get this one." She come out with another one from underneath her backside. And there I was this close. I said, "Don't cause me to have to kill you now." And so one of the other guys retching got that pistol too. But anyway, it turned out she had a mental problem.
Oh man.
Everything worked out pretty good.
Yeah. That was your first term. What about your second term? Was it any?
No, the first time was pretty calm, just ordinary fights and stuff like that. But the second term was when the incident happened with a lady shooting up Dr. Forston's office.
Oh, okay. That was, I don't know if you want to talk about it or not. I've heard a lot of stories that people around town, and they'd say that Oliver get out of hand, and they couldn't nobody do nothing with him. But you had to go load him.
Well, I tell you, now he's my brother, but he's one of the finest guys that ever walked on 2 feet, and give you the shirt off his back. But now, if he's had him a few drinks, and you approach him the wrong way, you're asking for trouble.
Right.
I know there'd been times when people had a problem with it, and I'd just walk up to him as a brother, and I'd just tell him, hey, you can't do stuff like this, let's go, He never once resisted or anything, and most of the time he couldn't wait to straighten out the situation once it's over with, because he's not a troublemaker, but he's the type you don't fool with.
Right. What was when I'm thinking you ran again when Leon Sneed finally came in and he took over as sheriff. Did you know Leon from before?
Didn't hardly know him. I knew of him and seen him there at his car lot, but other than that, I didn't know much about him at all.
Yeah.
And I ran a time or two after Leon was elected, and I couldn't pull it off.
Yeah.
I mean, he had support.
Oh yeah, yeah.
From a big family and money to go along with it, I guess that goes a long ways.
Yeah. Is there still animosity toward you and him now at all?
No.
Or have you spoke to him at all?
Yeah, I've spoke to him. Yeah, he just, he apparently people were satisfied with him, and he had the support,
Yeah. And I think that the support's the majority of the money, and all that's a lot of the race, isn't it? Probably.
Yeah.
Because I've heard a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people over the years growing up say that they really liked you, as a person that had a good, and thought you had a good personality. And I'm sure you won most of Spring City when you ran. I would think.
I tell you.
But Dayton's hard to beat.
Yeah.
Sure.
I came out financially in worse shape than what I went in, and that don't happen to every sheriff that goes in.
No.
I came out financially in worse shape than what I went in, so I let my business kind of go down, my water well and gas and oil, while I was in there sheriffing. So I didn't do myself no favors.
Yeah.
Now, I would have loved to have it one more term, because I would have retired at half salary with 10 years of service as sheriff.
Right.
But I just couldn't make it. So,
yeah. How old are you right now?
81.
81. Well, you in good shape for 81.
I work every day. Wouldn't quit if I could.
Yeah.
It is with me now. The only major dealings that I had with Tate was there was some guys wanting to play, came in from out of town wanting to play some poker one night, and they wanted to know who's the better poker player in town,
Yeah.
And hell, I went out and got Tate. We went out to his place about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, played poker for a few hours.
Yeah. How did you first know any of them? Did you just knew them growing up, or any of the Fugates over in that area, or did?
Just knew them from growing up. And Earl, it was in the later years that I got to know Earl and Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
Probably through their business out there at Wolf Creek,
What
Butch
kind of,
now, I've been around Butch at various times, mainly in card games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Butch was a heck of a good card player, but an honest man too, you know. So
Yeah. What kind of a person was Steve? Was he? I mean, he had that bar and stuff over there, and he had rooster fights and all that stuff. But what dealings you had with him? What kind of person was he?
any dealings that I had with him were strictly up and up, and he, as well as Butch, would do exactly what they said they'd do, and they expected you to do the same. So now that's the dealings that I had with him over the years.
Was you ever in the Watts Bar Inn out there when Thee ran it, or was you around here during that time?
A few times when he ran it. I was in there more times when Earl ran it than I was when Thee ran it.
Did you play cards with Thee at all much, or did you just take
Not
them?
much. He was out of my class. He was just beyond my class. I knew not to fool with him too much.
So he's a pretty good card player then?
He was a good card player, and had the money to back it up, you know.
Yeah.
And Butch was the same way. If he ever got in a game now, he had the money to back his plays, so
Yeah.
makes a lot of difference when you're going in there with a fat wallet than you're going in there with empty pockets.
Yeah. What about did you ever go to any of the rooster fights over there before, or did you fool with that at all?
I never did go to a rooster fight at all. I knew that they were going on there, and I knew pretty much each and every person that attended those rooster fights. But I don't recall any problem at all from any of the fights that they had. And my way of feeling about the rooster fighting, I knew each and every person that was out there. I knew each and every person that attended. And if I had a problem in the county, as I was sheriff, I could forget about that bunch because I knew exactly where they were at and what they were doing. And like I say, I had no calls that I recall at all over any disturbances that they had at any of their fights.
What about, do you remember Jet and Fred Fugate?
I remember Jet well.
What do you remember about him? Just say it. You ain't gonna say nothing nobody else hasn't said.
Jet was just like some of the rest of us. He liked to have a drink now and then. But actually, as far as trouble, he wasn't trouble, you know. Now, he and my brother were at the wrong place at the wrong time. And
Which brother?
my older brother Leonard. If you recall, a place over here called Dreamland. Back several years ago, Leonard and Jet ran around as best buddies all the time when they come out of service, and Jet got a little too much one night and said he's going to shoot somebody, and it just happened to be my brother that was standing there, and he shot him about 5 times, although it didn't kill him, and to my knowledge didn't leave him with any serious long-term illness, you know.
Right.
He died later on of cirrhosis of the liver, but I don't think the bullet that nicked his liver had anything to do
Didn't
with it.
he break Jet's jaw over that?
Yeah, he did. Jet had tubes in his head, through his nose and all that stuff, so they had from what I understand, I wasn't there, but they had a heck of a go-around even after the shooting, so.
What about Fred? Do you ever remember Fred Fugate?
I just remember Fred and seeing him, and I just heard people talk about him, that he was nothing but a tough nut if you ever fooled with him. Other than that, that's about the extent I remember when he came out of service, but we didn't run around together or anything.
He had a bad habit of stealing cars, I think.
Well, I heard that he might have stolen the car now and then, but see that, I wasn't really old enough at that time to get too involved or know much about that.
Yeah.